Good morning, everybody. Good morning from me and Coco and Franklin. Say hi, Frankie. It is a dreary, rainy, my kind of day. I kind of like it. On Tuesday, and for us, it is the second day of spring break. I'm curious how many of you all are already on spring break. I tell you what, we love spring break, being in the retail or hospitality business, and especially in Texas or most places, because really it's almost like a whole month, because no one can get together and have the same spring break week. Frankie, you're just being too cute back there, popping your head over. So nobody has the same one typically, which is very inconvenient if you're a parent and you've got kids in different school systems, or one in college, one in high school. But it's great if you're in tourism, because we're like, spread it out. We want all the people to come stay with us at our B&Bs at Absolute Charm. We want people to come buy quilts. Back in the day when we had T. Rose quilts, or clothes back when we had Scarlet Women's Boutique. So yeah, spring break's exciting. I'm curious to hear if any of y'all are on spring break right now. So welcome everybody. Today we are on the chapter on faith in Napoleon Hill's classic book, Think and Grow Rich. And faith, of course, the Bible says, is substance of things hoped for, evidence of things not seen. And he gives the great story, of course, about Charles Schwab working with J.P. Morgan and Carnegie and creating the conglomerate that was U.S. Steel, and created, of course, millions, billions of dollars worth of wealth back in the early 20th century, early 1900s. So when he talks about the faith that Charles Schwab had that he could get this done, and isn't it funny that I always think just of Charles Schwab as the the financial advisor company these days, so it's always interesting to get a little backstory. But I guess my question would be, what is really the difference between faith and belief? Belief, okay, let's put it in a business context. I believe I can have my best year ever in whatever it is that I'm doing. I believe that I can make this happen. I have faith that this is going to happen. Okay, as I'm saying those things, they have a very different sound, don't they? I believe kind of means to me, I believe it's possible. I believe it could happen. I believe somebody out there can do it. I believe I can have my best year ever. I can make $1 million in commissions. I can help 100 families, whatever your goal for this year is. I believe it just has a very different sound than I have faith. And I think that's a true statement. So I would like to hear you guys' input if you have anything to add on this. Faith seems to be, like we talked about yesterday, we needed not just a basic desire, we needed a white hot burning desire, right? A passion to reach our goal, whatever it is. And again, we have to not make it our goal to be successful or to do well. We need to make it our goal to have $1 million by this time next year. And these are the steps I'm going to take to get there. One way or the other, we know we've got to be very specific with our goal. Y'all excuse me just a second. I'm just looking for my wallet again, and I know I got it, but where did I put it? I'll just keep talking. So y'all feel free to join in there. Oh, Cokie says don't move around, Mom. It stresses me out. Cokie was sitting on it. I knew it. Okay, we got it, girl. Okay, wallet found, crisis averted. So, faith is a whole different level. I mean, think about who are the greatest characters in the Bible of faith. I would have to say number one, credited typically with the concept of faith, would be Abraham. And Abraham had to do so many things of faith, right? He had to head out into the desert to create this land and this people that God was going to create. And we know that Abraham, remember, and Sarah were 99 and 100 years old and were barren, had never had children. Well, Abram had his son Ishmael with his handmaid Hagar. I'm kind of doing this off the hip here. But he didn't have a son with Sarah, which of course is what he wanted, which would have been his legitimate son, which would have, started his line. And God came to him and said, you're going to have this at 99 and 100. Can you imagine the look on their face when they heard that one? But they had belief. She didn't have quite as much belief. She kind of laughed at first, and I kind of relate to her because, you know, man, you almost can't help her. The woman was 99 years old and told she was going to have her first baby. So even though she was told by God, I guess her first thought was, that's not possible. And then she had to think, looking back, what a silly thing to say to God is that something's not possible, right? So Abraham always had faith. And so they headed out and to create this great people, the people of Israel, which they did. And we know that he had his son, Isaac, right? Yes, because then Isaac had Jacob. So he had his son Isaac, who, can you imagine the amount of love that Abraham would have had for Isaac? All right? How many of us have a firstborn child and we can remember that moment of, I can't believe this is real, I'm really a parent, I have a child, this is incredible. And then imagine being 100 and having that happen when your whole life you had given up ever having hopes of that. So obviously Abraham was beyond elated. So can you imagine when the boy was, I don't know how old he was, but he was a boy. Let's say he was 10 or 12. And they go up on the mountain and God asks Abraham to sacrifice his son, Isaac, on the altar, right? Y'all remember that story? And can you imagine the tears and the anguish that he felt in doing that? But what did he do? He had to even lie to his son and say no, because he's like, why aren't we getting a lamb? Where's the lamb? He didn't really lie to him, actually. Think about what he said. He said, God will provide the sacrificial animal. God will provide. So they go up there to the altar, and he goes as far as putting his one beloved son, definitely a foreshadowing, of course, of God giving Jesus up on the cross. He puts his one son on the altar, raises up the knife to take his life as a blood sacrifice. And of course, God has, I think it says his angel, stopped his hand, and they went down, and of course there was a lamb in the thicket, and they took the lamb, made the sacrifice. But
hello, this is Elizabeth. What can I get for you?
A large black coffee, please.
One large black coffee, would that be all?
That's it.
All right, 161.
Thank you. What kind of faith? Can you even put yourself in that position for a moment? I can't even imagine what it took to do that. So that again is that difference between I believe that there's a God, or I believe that I can accomplish my goal, versus I have faith. I'm going to take action based upon what I'm believing. Abraham took it into his own hands, didn't he? He didn't only believe there was a God. He didn't just believe that God could spare his son, or that if he didn't spare his son, somehow it was going to be okay. You know, sometimes you have to get to that point of saying, I'm going to be okay. I've said this before when, you know, if I was waiting for medical tests or whatever it was, I remember distinctly thinking and saying, I'm going to be okay, and if I'm not okay, that's going to be okay. And I think at some point we have to get there, and it's not easy, right? But we don't really have any other choice if we want to live a life of faith. So in business, I think we have to do the same thing. We have to go from belief to faith. We have to go from, I believe I can have my best year ever in real estate. I believe I can have a wonderful year teaching 5th grade and really make an impact on my students. Whatever this belief is, I believe I can put $1 million in the bank in the next 10 years. Whatever your goal is, right? And the one thing I'm going to keep repeating throughout this little series is, life rewards the specific ask, and it punishes the vague wish. So we've got to quit wishing something good would happen. We've got to get really, really, really specific. Life rewards the specific ask. So let's get specific on our asks. Let's get specific on our goals, get them, written them down, and let's go from believing they can happen to having faith that they will happen. Okay? That's all I got for y'all today. Happy spring break. Let me know if you guys are on spring break, if you're taking any time off, doing something fun. And then tomorrow we'll be doing the next chapter, which I believe is like it's self-fulfilling request. I forgot the exact title, but it's whatever's right after faith. So if you're reading along in the book, let me know. I want to know how many are following along and how many are listening in. Either one is fine, but you'll get the most out of it, of course, if you listen in. And those of you who are able to comment or share, I think that's great. If any of you would ever like to join me on the show, let me know, because I can add in anyone who's watching live. If you want to give a couple of 2 cents in, I think that would be a fun addition. We don't need to always hear me blabbing on, so I'd love to hear from you guys as well. So hope you have a wonderful day, and hope everything great comes for you. Let's get specific today. Let's ask for specific things. No more vague wishing that life goes well, right? Faith of a mustard seed indeed can move mountains. So we've got to have faith, not just believe. We've got to go way farther, and we've got to have the specific request not the vague wish. That is my hope for you today. So give that a few thoughts, and let's convene again tomorrow. Hope you have a great one, guys. See you later.